Hey, what's up, Barry? OPERATIONiDROID here, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to randomize your Pokemon Sun or Moon. Now, this includes randomized starters, randomized wild encounters, randomized trainers Pokemon, and much more. In order to do this, you will need a custom firmware 3DS with access to Luma 3DS. So if your 3DS does not have custom firmware, then I'll have a tutorial linked in the description below where you can learn how to do that if you have not done so already. And if you all are excited to learn how to randomize your Pokemon Sun or Moon, please hit that like button as it helps out the video tremendously, and I truly appreciate it as I spent a ton of time trying to make this tutorial clear and easy to follow. But without any further ado, let's head into the tutorial. Alright, before we begin, I would like to mention again that you do need a custom firmware 3DS in order to go through this whole process, as well as your SD card must have at least 4 GB of space to go through this whole process, and you'll need a Windows 64-bit computer in order to follow this tutorial. As well as you need to have some free time because this is a lengthy process, and leave a like while you're at it. Anyways, to check if your computer is a Windows 64-bit, go to your control panel, this PC, then select System and Security, and under System Type, it'll say 64-bit operating system if you have a 64-bit Windows computer. Now this only works on 64-bit, so make sure you have that. Finally, open your SD card and let's begin with the process. We're going to open our favorite web browser and paste in the URL the link that I have in the description for BrainDump, and we're going to download the BrainDump 7Z. In order to open this 7Z file, you will need WinRAR, which I'll have a link to in the description below if you do not have it already. So go ahead and open this braindump.7z, which will give you a BrainDump folder, and drag that into your desktop, and then we're going to drag that BrainDump folder into the 3DS folder of our SD card. So go ahead and drop BrainDump in there, and now we can eject our SD card and put it into our 3DS. Now we're going to open our Homebrew application, however it is that you enter Homebrew with your custom firmware, and you'll see that you now have a BrainDump application. Go ahead and open that, and then dump the Pokemon Sun or Moon that you want to randomize. So as you can see, I have Pokemon Sun here. If you have Moon, then select the Moon, and then an extremely long process will begin. This is the process of dumping your game so you could randomize it. For my Pokemon Sun and Moon on my old 3DS, it took an hour and 30 minutes to complete this whole process. Now, of course, I've sped it up for the sake of the video, so as you dump your file, just pause the video, make sure your 3DS is connected to power, and then come back when it's done, because as I mentioned, this is going to take a very long time, so be patient. Give it at least 2 hours before you realize that something's wrong, and make sure that you have at least 4 GB of space on your SD card, because if not, then the game will not be able to fully dump, and then you just wasted a lot of time. So go ahead and dump your game and come back to the video when it's done. Alright, once the process is done, you'll know that everything went well because it said done. Thank you for your patience, and then you can press start to exit and turn off your 3DS. Then put your 3DS SD card back into your computer, and you'll notice an extremely large .cxi file on your SD card. Then we're going to open our command prompt, and on our command prompt it'll show us where the command prompt is located. So for me, it's C users OPERATIONiDROID. So wherever it says to you, wherever directory that is, go to it. So in my case, it was C users OPERATIONiDROID, so I'm going to go to that directory now by going to my local disk C, going to users, and then selecting OPERATIONiDROID. So go to the directory that your command prompt told you it was on, and in this directory we're going to transfer that extremely large CXI file that we had. So from your SD card, drag that CXI file into your directory that command prompt told you it was on. Now this will take a while because it's a big file, so we're going to go ahead and go back into our web browser as that transfers and download CTRtool, which I'll have links in the description below. So put that link into your URL, which will take you to this page, and download the latest release of CTRtool, which is a .zip file. So once you have that downloaded, we can go ahead and open that CTRtool .zip file, and then it'll have a Windows, a Mac, and a Linux version. Of course, we're using Windows, so go ahead and open the Windows folder, and then you'll see the CTRtool.exe. We're going to place that CTRtool.exe into the location that command prompt is on. So we're going to put it in the same place that we put the CXI file, which in my case was C users OPERATIONiDROID. So I'm just going to drag that CTRtool.exe there. And that's all you'll need to do. You don't have to open the application or anything, just drag it into the same location that you put your CXI file, which is where your command prompt looks for files. So once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and go back into command prompt and put the command that I have linked in the description below. So I have the first command that you'll have to put into command prompt. So go ahead and copy that and paste it into command prompt. There's one for sun and there's one for moon. So copy the one that is for your game and press enter. Now this process will take 2 to 5 minutes. It really depends, but you'll know that the process is done when you click on command prompt and then it tells you error. Don't worry about the error, it doesn't mean anything, it just lets you know that it is done. So once it is done, then you're going to want to copy the next command that I have linked in the description below, which is to extract the romfs file. So copy the romfs extraction command, which is the second command, and paste that into your command prompt and hit enter. Now this is the same command for sun or moon, so don't worry about it, and this one will take longer than the last one. This does take some time. I think it takes about 5 to 10 minutes, so just be patient. When this one is done, you'll know it's done because it'll allow you to put in another command. So just be patient and wait, and when it's done, we're gonna have one more command that we need to put into command prompt that I'll have linked in the description below. This one is for the exefs extraction, which is the third command, and it's the same for Pokemon Sun or Moon. So just go ahead and copy that in the description and paste it into your command prompt when the romfs extraction ends. So as you can see, I now have the ability to paste something again into command prompt, and I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to paste it, and this one's really fast. It shouldn't take too long, maybe only a minute or two. And then when this whole process is done, you'll see in the same location where you put CTRtool and your .cxi file, you're going to see a romfs and an exefs folder. Now we're going to put this into a new folder on our desktop called Pokemon Sun Dump, or if you're using Moon, then go ahead and put Pokemon Moon Dump. And then in this folder, we're going to drag the exefsdir and the romfsdir folder into the Pokemon Sun Dump. And we're going to leave that on our desktop for now because we're going to continue with another process by opening our web browser and then pasting in the URL the link that I have for the batch tool, which will be in the description below. So once you arrive at this forum post, you'll see that it says attached patches are for version 1.1 only. Hopefully you are on version 1.1. If you're watching this in the future, make sure to read the description just in case there's been any changes to the process with updates to Pokemon Sun and Moon. So download the batch tool there and the patches.rar file here. So download those two files, and then we're going to go ahead and open them, both of them, because we're going to be taking some files out of these .rar files. So once you have them open, you can close your web browser, and we're going to drag these two files onto our desktop. Now the patches.rar gives you a patches folder, which you're going to drag into your desktop, and then the batch tool will give you two RARs, which is kind of weird. It's a RAR file inside a RAR file, so just go ahead and open that and then drag the Sun batch tool into your desktop, as you can see I just did. And now we're going to create a new folder on our desktop, which is going to be called Pokemon Sun Patches, or if you have Pokemon Moon, just name it Pokemon Moon Patches. And then we're going to open that folder and we're going to put a couple of different files in there. So make that new folder and open it, and then we're going to drag the sumo IPS helper into that folder, as well as we're going to drag in the patches, not the whole patches folder, the patches that you want into this folder. So if you open the patches folder, there's a ton of different patches. The most important one for us in order to make this whole process work is the saltysd.ips. So make sure you drag the saltysd.ips patch into that folder that we have here with the sumo IPS helper, and then any other patches that you want to add, for example the no lines patch, you can drag that in there and that patch will be applied to your game. So you can read what all the other patches do, but the no outline one is really cool. A lot of people seem to like that one. So once you have all the patches you want to apply into that folder, we're going to go into our Pokemon Sun dump, go into our exefs folder, and then we're going to get the code.bin file and drag that into our Sun patch folder, which has our patches and the sumo IPS helper. Make sure that these are the only things in the folder, and then open the sumo IPS helper. And then just go through the prompts here. It says press any key to continue, so we're going to press any key to continue. Then it'll ask you if you have Pokemon Sun or Moon, so go ahead and type S for Moon, S for Sun and M for Moon. Make sure you type the correct one for your game, so just make sure you do that because that can ruin this whole process. So I'm doing Sun, so I'm going to put S, and then it'll say the patch was applied successfully. The patch was created successfully, so that's how you know everything went well. And then it says copy the Luma folder to your SD card. So that's what we're going to do right now. You can press any key to exit the Sun and Moon IPS patch helper. So we're going to do that, and you'll see that now in the Sun patch, we have the Luma folder as well as the code_edit.bin file, which we do not need. So now that we have this, we are going to open our SD card, and then we are going to open the Luma folder on our SD card and in this Sun patch folder that we have here. And then we're going to drag the titles folder that is in the Luma folder in our Sun patch folder into the Luma folder in our 3DS. So just go ahead and drag that, and then our patch is ready. So drag that into your SD card, and now we're going to go ahead and continue with the randomization process by heading into our favorite web browser, and we're going to download PK3DS, which is the program that will allow us to randomize our starters, wild encounters, trainers Pokemon, and much more. So go ahead and open your favorite web browser and copy the link that I have in the description for PK3DS and paste that into the URL, and it'll take you to a download file. So just go ahead and hit download, and the download process will begin. The file for this, which is a .rar, isn't too big, so it won't take too long. So once it's done, go ahead and open that .rar file, and then just go ahead and go through the folders until you get to another .rar, which is weird that this one has two .rar files within it, and then you're going to extract the three files that you see here. So it's the PK3DS.exe and the other accompanying file. So drag that into your desktop, and then once you've done that, you can exit, and we are going to open the PK3DS program, which will allow us to randomize our game. So when you open PK3DS for the first time, it won't know where your game is, so you're going to have to locate it by going to File, Open, and what you're going to open is the Pokemon Sun or Moon dump folder that we made that contains our exefs and romfs folder. So open the folder that has your exefs and romfs folder within it. So for me, it's Pokemon Sun dump. It may be Pokemon Moon dump for you, so go ahead and open that folder. And here you'll be able to randomize all the stuff that you see here. Of course, the most popular one being the wild encounters. So you can go ahead and open that, and it'll open a script for you, which will take some time. I kept this in real time. I didn't speed this up because you might think that your program froze, but it didn't. If you look above wild encounters, there's some text there, and that will change slowly as it opens the wild encounters tab, where you'll be able to randomize it. So don't worry, it's not frozen. As you can see, it's taken about like 15 seconds for the wild encounters tab to open, but if you're patient, you'll see that it'll open and load all the wild encounters in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So as you can see here, these are the normal wild encounters on Route 1, and you can randomize these. On the left, as you can see, you can randomize and add all the Gen 1 Pokemon, all the game legends, event legends. You can check off whatever you want, and once it's good for you, you can click randomize all at the top and then select yes, and it'll begin to randomize every single route and Pokemon in the game that you can encounter in the wild. So as you can see, it just randomized it. There's all these new Pokemon available on Route 1. And that's how you know that your game is now randomized with wild encounters. If you want to randomize other things like the trainer's Pokemon, you can go ahead and do that by selecting trainer, but once you exit the wild encounters tab again, you might think that your PK3DS is frozen, but it's not. It takes a little bit, and then when it's done, you'll have access to click the next tab, which is trainers. So if you want to randomize the trainer's Pokemon, you can select trainers, and it'll give you another tab where you can randomize it. And in the tab that it opens, it'll look like there's nowhere to randomize stuff, but you want to go to the last tab on the right, and here it'll have Gen 1 through 3 game legends. You can check everything that you want to randomize. I would recommend that you take off the level boost multiplier unless you're looking for a challenging run through. In that case, then lower the multiplier to something under 10% so the game doesn't get any like ridiculously hard, because what that does is boost the level of the trainer's Pokemon. And then you want to go to stats and moves, and this is important. You want to change the moves from don't modify to level up only, because if you do not do this, then the Pokemon that are randomized will have the moves of the Pokemon before, so then you'll have Magikarps with like tackle and some really weird stuff. So make sure you do the things that I'm doing here, and you'll be good. So then once you do that, you can select randomize all, and you'll know that the trainers have been randomized if you go to the little drop down menu at the top right and you select any trainer, and you'll notice that it's a Pokemon that they normally wouldn't have. So if I go to How, as you can see, his Pokemon is a Carbink there, which that's not a Carbink. I don't know what Pokemon that is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyways, that's how you check, and then you can hit randomize all again so that you're not spoiled as to what How's Pokemon is, as I just did. And then the last thing that you might want to randomize is the starters, which is the static encounters. So this includes all the traded Pokemon and the starters. So you can choose what that'll be randomized to with the check marks there. As you can see, if you go to GIFs, you'll see the starters there, and you can randomize all and also select randomize starters to randomize the starters. And then when you go to GIFs, you'll know that it's randomized because as you can see, the starters have been changed to 3 different Pokemon. And then I'm going to randomize it again one more time so I'm not spoiled as to what my starters are. I'm going to hit save, and then make sure you select yes in update text, or else your starters won't be randomized. So make sure you select yes, and then you can randomize any other stuff that you see here. If you select move stats, it'll crash your PK3DS, so don't do that. But once you're done, you're going to go to options and select about Gark and leave this prompt here open. This shows everything that you just modified in the files. So open Pokemon Sun Dump and then go to the romfs folder, and then we're going to go to our SD card and make a new folder on the root of your SD card called SaltySD with the S and SD capitalized. That's super important. Then in that SaltySD folder, you're going to make a new folder called Sun and Moon with the S and the M capitalized, which is super important. It must be written just as I'm doing it here. And then in this folder, we're going to create a new folder called A, lowercase a. Make sure you do it just as I'm doing here. And then in this A folder, we're going to create a 0 folder. And if you modified any other files that may be in the 1 folder, then you're also going to make a 1 folder. If you modified all the same files that I did, then you're going to go ahead and make the same folders that I'm making. So now I'm going to open the 0 folder, and looking at the prompt that we opened the PK3DS, I'm going to look for anything that I randomized. So for example, the wild encounters, which for Pokemon Sun is under A082. If you're using Pokemon Moon, then it's under A083. So I'm going to go into the romfs folder, I'm going to go into the A folder, I'm going to go into the 0 folder, then go into the 8 folder, and I'm going to look for the 2 file, which you will notice that this is the right file because it's modified. Under date modified, the time is different because it was changed later. And you want to drag all the files that were modified later into your SD card. So as you can see in the 0 folder, I'm now going to create a 8 folder, and I'm going to drag this 2 file into my SD card. If you're using Pokemon Moon, then that would be the 3 file, and you know that it's the correct file because the date modified is later than all the other files. And then you're going to go through this whole process for everything else that you randomize. So look at that PK3DS prompt, and on that prompt it says static encounters. So if you randomize the static encounters or the starters like I did, then you want to drag that file into your 3DS, which as you can see there is A155. And then you also want to drag the story text if you randomize the starters, because that will update the text preferences. So make sure you drag that. And then if you also did the trainers Pokemon, you'll see there that it says trainer data, trainer Pokemon, all of that. You want to drag all those files onto your SD card and make sure you make them with the correct folders, or else this process won't work. So hopefully you guys understood that. In the description I'll write a better way of saying it, I guess, but if you randomize everything that I randomized, then just drag in the same files that I dragged in. As you can see, I kind of sped up the process, but you can slow it down and you can take your time and only drag the files that were modified within the A0 and A01 folder. So once you do that, you can eject your SD card and put it back into your 3DS. And then we're going to open our 3DS and go to the Luma 3DS helper. And we're going to update our Luma 3DS to the latest hourly. So you can select install latest hourly by going down and pressing A, and make sure that you install the latest hourly of Luma 3DS, or else this won't work. So make sure you go ahead and install that, and then it'll say update complete, and you can press start to reboot. When you press start, also hold select at the same time so that Luma 3DS will open, as you can see it just did for me. And we need to set our settings again for this new hourly version of Luma 3DS. You can set whatever you want, but the most important thing that you do is that you enable game patching, or else this whole process won't work. So make sure you select enable game patching. And then once you do that, you can press start to save your Luma 3DS settings. And then we're going to go ahead and open our Pokemon Sun or Moon. So when you first open your Pokemon Sun or Moon, it'll give you a black screen for like 10 to 20 seconds. I've left this all in real time so you guys can see how long it takes for me. If you stay in a black screen for more than 2 minutes, then you have a problem, you did something wrong. That's probably because you're not on the latest version of Luma 3DS. I'll have some troubleshooting in the description below if you all want to check that out to see what may have gone wrong. But if you have a black screen for more than 2 minutes, then something went wrong. And if you have a gray screen for more than like 5 seconds, as you saw I just did, then you have another problem. That's because you added files that were not modified onto your SD card. So check the description for a fix. And now, as you can see, my game doesn't have any outlines. My starters have been randomized. As you can see here, I can tell that they've been randomized. As well as when I select the starter, I know that it's randomized because when I give it a nickname, I can see the sprite has changed above. And then I've also randomized the trainers Pokemon. So as you can see, Hao has a Paris, which is not normal. It's pretty random that he has a Paris. And then of course the wild encounters have been randomized as well. On Route 1, I'm encountering Electabuzz, which is not native to there, and a ton of other awesome Pokemon. So that is how you randomize your Pokemon Sun or Moon. I hope this process went well for you, everything worked out. If not, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and hopefully someone can help you out. I'll be answering as many comments as I can as well. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please leave a like, as it helps out the video tremendously. As well as comment down below what other 3DS tutorials you'd like to see, because I'd love to know what you all want to see as I read all the comments. Finally, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe by clicking on my icon on screen now, and check out some of my other videos if you have not already. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and welcome to the operation.